Hi, I'm April Black. Nice to have you. I'm talking today about the prototype, the fee-for-service document lookup service prototype. Have you heard about this? What is it? The fee-for-service document guideline lookup service that CMS has released to a small group is a searchable database for providers to access coverage requirements and prior authorizations for HCPCS codes, durable medical equipment, CPTs, etc. So you ask myself, don't they already have this? I'm pretty sure I spend a lot of time looking up prior authorization, looking for coverage determinations, looking for policy information. Why do we need another database? Oh, why? Well, CMS has an initiative, you've heard of it, Patients Over Paperwork. This is to reduce the burden on providers and streamline processes and efficiency for quality outcomes. Well, that makes sense. I'm all for that. We need to have less paperwork, less processes. So how is a database going to help lessen the burden by adding another database? Well, CMS has an idea, and they're working with industry work groups to join forces, if you will, and create a standard of solutions and coverage determinations and, if you will, like the exchange of data that we did for interoperability under HIPAA, now to transcend that into the medical coverage and policy world. It sounds like an ideal world, a utopia. Perhaps they forgot that we already have some of these tools in play that we use on a day-to-day basis in the physician's office. We need an MRI, so we have to get it prior approved. We need to get an oxygen tank for a patient delivered to the home by the home health agency, so we have a form to fax. There is a process for every process that there is another process. So I'm going to compare the current process that CMS offers and some of the other payers like Blue Cross and Aetna and Cigna. Many of them have their own website or their own index of medical coverage policies, just like Medicare does. And Medicare's site is the CMS Clinical Template Resource page. And we'll go there real quick and I'll show you what it looks like if you haven't been there. But you can download all the templates for some of the specialty items. So this is the idea and the premise that these work groups are working with, trying to get a more standardized perception of the community and the uniform idea of the medical practice as a whole for coverage. So instead of looking at for Medicare and having one medical policy for MRI of the brain and Blue Cross having a medical policy of MRI of the brain, the idea of this future document lookup service prototype database would be to streamline and have one searchable engine database comprised of uniform guidelines that can be found in a single search and eliminate the need to search various external or other individual websites, policy manuals, or etc. Well, that does sound ideal, doesn't it? I am all for utopia because a less of a burden on the physician practice is a positive direction for all of us. So how does it really benefit providers? Is this fee-for-service lookup prototype tool worth talking about? Well, they say the work groups are working to make sure that the prior authorization and the document requirements for those kinds of services are available to the providers at the time they need them, with the patient in front of them. So there's no waiting, so there's no delaying access or care. And that it shows up as a part of a functional EHR or an integrated practice system. So it doesn't require a different machine, a different person, a different process. it can be worked into your everyday workflow at your own EMR or your own system without extra expense or extra training. So those are positive things that really could benefit the practice and help reduce some of the burden on the clinical staff and at least some of the medical necessity requirements and documentation elements that physicians really need to know that vary so much between payers. So, for example, I have here, does Medicare fee-for-service documentations required I'm sorry, I misread that. Does Medicare require prior authorization services? Yes, for some things they do, and you can find it on that website. But more importantly, why do we want to have to look all the time, right? It would be nice if it was just published and readily available. So here are the resource links, and the second and third bullet actually contain the links where you can go and sign up if you'd like to participate in one of these work groups. One of the work groups here is the Office of National Coordination of Health and Technology. They call this FIR, for the Health Interoperative Resource Task Force. The private sector, these are made up of more commercial payers, more independent practice or physicians that are hosted by a Health Level 7, and they refer to it as the Da Vinci Project. So feel free to wander around these websites and become familiar and see if you would like to become a participant in developing the next standard or uniform criteria and determinations that build our payment models for the future. I am interested in being a part of that, and I hope that you will join me as we work together to reform and improve healthcare and patient outcomes. And thank you so much. I've enjoyed our time together today.